Hello, and welcome to another brand new episode of CPOV Autographs, the now monthly interview series. I think we're just going to lean into it being the last Tuesday of every month because that's kind of how it's shaken out the last couple of months, and I think it's just easier for my workflow. And so this is, I guess, my official announcement that the show will remain monthly but be the last Tuesday of every month. I'm still really excited to get some really cool interviews this year, and this is one of them. But before we get to that, I do want to say, since there won't be any other episodes in March till this event happens, I'm going to be back at PAX East yet again. I am on 2 panels. I'm really excited about it. One of them is on Friday, March 24th. It's at 12 p.m. Eastern, and it is called The Nintendo GameCube Was the Greatest Console Ever Made. And that is fact. And it's an incredible panel with myself. It's being hosted by Jacob McCourt. I will be alongside Cam Hawkins, Janet Garcia, Mike Towndrow, and Asa Greenreaver. I'm really excited for this panel. It's also going to be streamed on twitch.tv/PAX3. If you are at PAX East, it's going to be in the Dragonfly Theater. Please come through. And then on Saturday night, March 25th at 6 p.m., hosted by Luke Lewis, I am going to be on a panel with Jacob McCourt and Cam Hawkins again, along with Celia Schilling and Alex Van Aken, and it's the ultimate video game music showdown. I'm really excited for that one as well. Please come say hi if you're going to be at the event. Please come to those panels. That one also will be streamed. It's on twitch.tv PAX3 as well, and that will also be in the Dragonfly Theater. So if you see me around, please say hi. I'm really excited for PAX East. I love doing these events. I love getting to be on these panels. It should be a lot of fun. Really quick before we get into this interview, I also, so a lot of you were huge supporters through this podcast of my personal Patreon that I ran for many years. But after not being able to really fulfill any bonus content and just kind of having one, I ended up shutting it down. A lot of you were bummed because you liked contributing to that. Well, I wanted to let you know that I now have a brand new Patreon focused for my video game podcast, Fun and Games. It's patreon.com/funandgamespod. And there are 3 tiers, $3, $5, and $10. I would love for you all to go over there and contribute on any level that you can. It really helps support the show. At the $3 level, you get our love. At the $5 level, you get a shout out on the show. And then at the $10 level, you get all of that other stuff and bonus content. We also post some bonus content that's available to all levels, but specifically bonus podcast content will be at the $10 level. Please, anything you can give, even if you can only give $1, anything you contribute to the Patreon goes right back into the show to grow it and improve it. And we have some really cool stuff for Fun and Games planned this year. But enough about all that stuff and pitching and promoing. I am chatting with the brilliant and talented Rick Ives. Rick wrote and directed and edited a movie called A Solid Rock Trust. It's an incredible film. You can watch it, I believe, on Tubi right now. We will have links in the show notes, but I wanted to have Rick on to talk about that incredible film. It's his debut feature film, and also talk about some of the editing work he's done for Marvel. He's a really fun and fascinating guy, and it was so cool to get to chat with him. So without any more hype or further ado, here's my incredible chat with the one and only Rick Ives. I am so excited, folks. I am here with the one and only Rick Ives. Rick, thank you for joining me.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. This is great.
It's very funny. It's kismet. So you emailed me to ask if you could come on the show. Yeah. And what's funny about that is you emailed me the night I finished listening to your Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer episode of Let's Rewatch. And when I finished it, you talked about Solid Rock Trust, your feature film. And I'm like, oh, I should have Rick on. Like, I like having creators of all kinds on. Solid Rock Trust sounds really great. I should chat with him. And then I get home and I have an email from you in my inbox. I was like, oh, well, this worked out.
Perfect. And you immediately answered me and said, I just listened to your show.
Yeah. And so fate. It was fate. Destined. The Let's Rewatch folks are all great. They've all been on this show and Screen Snark separately, and maybe one day I'll do like a bonanza where I just have them all on at once.
Everybody else, yeah. Yes.
But I'm excited to talk to you about your film, Solid Rock Trust, because it's very unique in a lot of ways. But the most interesting thing about this is, for the most part, and there's only other couple of films I know that have done this, it has essentially one character. There are other
Yep.
characters in the film, but you only really get to see them in moments towards the end. For the most part, it's one actress in frame
Right.
99% of the time. The rest of it
And
is voice
carrying
acting.
it and
Yeah.
carrying it
And carrying
every
it.
step of the way on her shoulders.
And so I'm curious to start, like, was that, because you wrote this, was that always the idea? Like, from the very beginning, I want to create this kind of like heist film, but from the perspective of the oracle figure, the person running and pulling the strings.
Yeah, it's funny. It's when you're writing something, you start with an idea and then you add another idea and then you add another idea. And then soon it kind of takes on a life of its own that way, you know? Originally, I had written this as a short because I was graduating college and I needed something to shoot in my apartment. And I'm like, hey, this is the room. What could we do that would be interesting? What if someone has a bunch of cell phones? Okay, but why? I like heist movies. What if they're organizing a bank heist? Oh, yeah, that's kind of a cool idea. So you could have twists and turns, except you would hear it all. That was my plan. Problem was I could never get it under like 25 minutes for a short. And anyone who knows will tell you that's way too long for a short film because no festival will ever program you. But I couldn't fit all the twists and stuff in 8 minutes. I just couldn't do it. And eventually I had been editing for these guys out in California. We've done a bunch of cheaper, low budget indie movies. And I was editing for them. And I was like, dude, I could do one of these. In fact, I have this idea years ago for a script that I bet we could make look really good on a low budget. So I expanded into a feature and I just started cramming stuff in, so like everything that you think is interesting and unique about this movie was just an effort to like make it more fun to watch because I know it's just one person talking on the phone. So what else can we add to this? And that's how it got going. And a lot of people say the same thing as you. It's like, this is such a crazy idea because you never see the person in the chair, in these kind of group movies. And yeah, what an interesting take on that. And that was always the goal because I thought it would be fun to kind of see that view of it. So definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the only other film I think that comes close to this kind of setup, like actor-wise and vocal-wise, like the fact that it's essentially voice actors and an actor. Not that there's a difference, but like you have voices and then you have the main person, and we only get to really see them towards the end. There's a movie with Tom Hardy called Locke. I don't know if you've seen it.
Of course.
Yes, and so like I was immediately sort of reminded of that in the sense that you have a person on screen most of the film, and then you just have voices the rest of it. And so what I'm curious about is when casting something like this, like we do get to see some of the other cast members towards the end of the film, but what were you looking for? Because obviously what they look like was probably the least important thing, right? Because they're going to be voices 90% of the film. Was the audition still very much a actors in a room, even though they're not going to be in a room? Or did you do it remote? Did you do it just with their voice? Like, how did you cast this film? Was it fairly standard, or did you do something a little different?
You're talking about just the voice actors.
Right.
Okay. So first, let me tell you, I love Locke. So yeah, definitely was paying attention to that one. The thing Locke is missing, though, is it's a drama. It's not really a thriller, like intense. There's not a lot of suspense. There is suspense, but no one's like in danger. It's more like, oh man, the pressure of life, coming down on you. The other one I would recommend is called Buried.
Okay.
It's from 2007, I think, maybe. It's Ryan Reynolds, and the whole movie is him in a coffin.
I remember that. I remember seeing ads for that. I never saw the film, though, yeah.
It's super good, super intense, and it does the same thing. It's like that's even less than what I did because he's literally he can't even walk. He's just laying there, and you get to know characters over the phone. Yeah, it was all virtual. So we were going to shoot this before COVID happened. I had written it and gotten it approved and everything, before all that. And then, lockdown, and everyone's like, maybe 6 more weeks. And I'm wondering, dude, are we going to make this at all? Because who knows? So at that point, everything was virtual, and especially all the voice stuff. Yeah, I just did casting calls over one of the, online casting sites. And we decided to shoot out here in Georgia, where I live now. And I was like, I'm just going to look for locals here. There must be actors out here. There's a huge film industry.
Right.
And my co-producer was like, you get them in LA, you get them in New York. I don't know if you're going to get that many people out in Atlanta. It's just a smaller market. And I put these casting calls out, and I got hundreds and hundreds of people willing to do it. So, yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just start looking at people's reels, and I really don't care about what they look like. What I'm looking for is unique voices.
Right.
Because when she picks up the phone and you hear someone talking, I want you to know right away who that is. So I'm looking for different ages, different races, different backgrounds, different sounding voices, so that it's really clear, who these people are, where they're coming from, and they have like a personification, right away.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Our actress Coco, the lead, she never really even met most of those actors, especially at the time we were doing all those recordings, and it was kind of strange. You don't really shoot movies that way,
Right?
That they're not in the room together, and like there's no rehearsal time, and we really just push record and let them start having these phone calls. And in a weird way, it worked, because that's kind of the idea of it, is they are disconnected from each other and they don't have a big relationship, history, and they don't really know each other that well. And in that way, I really liked how it turned out. So
yeah, I mean, Coco's incredible. Like, I tweeted about the film after I finished it this afternoon, and just that it's really incredible what she does. And what I think is also really phenomenal is, like, obviously this whole film is about trust, right? The whole narrative rests on trust, and like, I don't want to spoil it, but it takes such a left turn at around the halfway mark as you begin to learn more about the lead character, Maddie. And, like, I love that pretty much almost until the last moments of the film, you still don't really know Maddie until you get, like, that moment. And I think that's kind of brilliant, since this whole thing is a heist, and heists are built on trust, and there isn't a lot of trust. And, like, all of the twists and turns. Also, for me, like, when there was some recording going on it, I spotted Audacity, which I used to record. I was like, oh, that's Audacity.
I specifically put a bunch of, like, little computer stuff in there that people would notice. Like, there's a Reddit screen. There's like a After Effects screen in there, all that.
But, like, I have to imagine when you auditioned Coco, like, there had to be that moment where you're like, oh, she's gonna kill this, especially with all the accent work and everything else. Like, she just really carries the film. Everyone's great in it, but, like, obviously she's on screen 90% of the time. You can't, if you don't love this actress, you're not gonna love this film, because she's 90% of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I know. I had this script, and there were always accents in it from the beginning, because I thought that would be interesting to see someone switching like that. Right. I don't know if you've ever watched videos like that on YouTube, where there's, like, how to train yourself to do different accents.
Sure.
And the people who do those are incredible.
Yeah.
Because you see them switch, and it's like a different person right in front of you.
Yeah.
Or if you ever see those videos where like a famous English actor is speaking for the first time outside of their American accent, like, you only know them as American. And, hold on a second. Wait. Are they English?
I mean, the craziest flip of that is, like, Gary Oldman, who is
totally
has a different voice in almost every film. And then the first time I ever heard him, I think it was on either Jimmy Kimmel, or it was one of those shows.
Right, out of character.
And he's talking out of character, and I went, that's his voice? Like,
I thought he was American.
Yeah, it's just wild to me when you experience that. I love also voice actors who play multiple characters. One of the more famous one, of course, Seth MacFarlane, who is like half the cast of Family Guy. Like, sitting on a couch just doing all the voices and jumping from one to the next. Like, to my brain, it's a magic trick. Like, I don't, I know how it works, but I don't know how it works,
Exactly. Well, I love seeing that kind of thing, and I thought, why not put that in here? So I had written the script in that she needed all these different accents, and we'll go into why that's the case. But everyone who's read the script was like, hey, this is really great, but you're never going to find somebody who can do this. And so we did the casting call actually very early on, and had hundreds of reels sent to us, and I found, like, I don't know, 50, 60 that I liked, who had potential. And we held a actually live audition at that point, because that was before all the lockdown had happened. We saw like 20 people, and hers, like, really stuck out to us. And even in her demo reel, she had been doing some accents. And I didn't call her at the time, because I didn't know that if we were going to even make this.
Right.
I didn't want to be the guy calling from Georgia saying, hey, like, you be in my movie, but we might make this one day. I don't really know when, but would you like...
Do you want to be in it?
So I kept it quiet. We waited. Eventually, we just decided, you know what, we're going to make this out in Georgia, because if there was ever a COVID movie, this is it. It's a small crew. It's one location. It's one actor. There's no reason not to do this. So I called her up and said, hey, I don't know if you remember this, but a year ago you did a rehearsal, and I loved it so much. Or you came into cast for us, and I loved it so much. Would you still be interested in doing this? And she was right away, yeah, I loved that audition. It was great. So I sent her the script, and I was very upfront, like, hey, this is going to not be pretty. It's low budget. You're by yourself. You got a lot of dialogue on your own, and it's going to be hot wherever we're shooting. It could be a miserable experience, but would you come on this ride with me? And she was totally down, never complained. She always had a smile. And in fact, when she showed up, she brought more accents than were in the script, because I had doubled up. I had like maybe 4 in the whole thing, thinking maybe I could find somebody with 4. She's like, I do a New York accent. Could I do one, maybe for this scene? Like, yeah, please. So I started like changing the script a little bit, to fit that. I don't know if you could tell, but depending on what accent she's doing, she's also playing a different character.
Yeah.
She's like more motherly in some cases, or more angry in some cases, or, just different things. So it's really all her. Like, she put in so much that was not on the page. And it was just fantastic to watch. It was crazy having spent so long on the script, and then you see it in front of you and she's just doing it. It's exactly what you pictured. Oh man, I can't wait for people to really watch this, because it's going to be a great showcase for what she can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, talk a little bit about, like, from the director's chair, like, there's some shots that are really interesting and really brilliantly done. Some of the slower moments panning in, or like there's a moment where a big thing happens. I don't want to reveal what, but it's just the whole shot is a slow pan back, bringing the more and more of this like warehouse garage into frame. Like, did you see that as you were writing this, or did that kind of come to you in the moment as you were shooting?
There's a couple of oneers in this, and I would say all but one of them was all planned in my mind ahead of time.
Yeah.
And part of that is just like, we got to figure out ways to not shoot this for 90 minutes in the exact same way.
Right.
Because you could just we shot with 2 cameras at all times, so that I knew I would have like multiple things to cut to pretty easily. And it would be easy to just set the camera in a couple places and do the whole movie, and then move it, do the whole movie, and then move it, and do the whole movie, basically. And you have like 6 angles for the whole thing. But that's not exciting.
Yeah.
So we really tried to make it change with what was happening in the script. So early on, it's like slow and lots of dollies and lots of wides, lots of wide angles. And then we start getting closer and like shooting through things, and then we go into handhelds, and then we get real close, and then by the end we're like right up there in her face and right up there in her ears. And I think it works where it just kind of sucks you in.
Yeah.
And then at key moments, we're like, okay, well, this is a big moment, so we're just going to let her perform for you. And that was what the long shots were about. Like, this isn't a trick. It's like you're going to watch a stage play almost,
Yeah.
It's different than a movie when you're sitting in the room with them and watching them perform. That's what I wanted you to feel like. So yeah, in a lot of cases that was planned, and hopefully it sounds like it worked for you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and like, it's funny you mentioned theater, because I've seen a lot of theater, especially a lot of black box or small scale theater. And like, I can totally see this as a stage play. Like, absolutely, you can see this as a stage play, because the big set piece moments you don't really need to see, like anything with the bank and the small video feeds that you get to see. You don't really need to see those. It's mostly the walkie-talkie. It could be walkie-talkies, phones, whatever. But like, I really do see it as like a film play to me, because of just how solitary it was. I've seen lots of small cast shows, and it has that vibe for sure.
We've talked about doing that, actually. So maybe in the future at some point. But that was part of my pitch to everyone. I talked to all the cast and crew before we started shooting. I said, look, we're going to be in an abandoned place. This is not a type of script you usually see, because it's on the page kind of boring. It's just one person. Think about it, though, like a play. And we are going to shoot just a stage play. And she already has this figured out. And instead of a stage, we're just going to be at this location. And we're going to try to make it as cinematic as we can. But that's the only way you get through a whole script like this that quickly. We shot it in 11 days, which is really fast for a movie.
Totally.
But in a way, it's cheating, because we're not moving and stuff. But also, why couldn't you shoot a play in 3 days?
Right. Yeah.
If they know it, you're not coming up with that stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
Then there's no reason you can't do it quickly. And so that's sort of the approach that we took.
We'll come back to the film, but of course you also do a ton of editing. You've edited for Marvel films and TV shows and all sorts of stuff, and you edited this film as well. Do you feel like your time and all of this work you've done as editing, because you've been editing for a while, did that prepare you for writing and directing? Do you think it helped inform the choices and the decisions you made because you've done all of this other work from a different part of the process?
Yeah, the irony is I started doing scripts because I wanted to be a better editor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I was always sort of interested in screenwriting and stuff, but never really did it until I had decided I wanted to go down the post-production route. And I thought, if I could start writing a couple of these and really understand why they're constructed the way they are, I think that would make me a better editor, because you're starting to understand why a scene is a certain length or why it's happening now, or what's the important thing that's happening in this scene. What are we learning about the character? Where are we coming from? What's going to happen right after this? It's all about pacing and what's important and what do you leave off. And in doing that, I kind of learned more about the crafting a 90-minute to 2-hour script. And so, yeah, definitely it helped, because from the minute I started putting stuff on the page, I knew how I wanted it to be edited, and I knew how I wanted it to be shot. In a lot of those cases, like you were talking about, I knew how I wanted this scene to even look. So that being said, I'm not perfect, because the very first cut I went in to make after we'd shot, I was like, oh, screw this director. How did he get, she transported across the room. I got to get from here over to here, and there's no coverage of that. Yeah. So it's not as easy as you think.
Right, sure. I'm sure wearing multiple hats is a challenge, just because it's not always easy to think of that hat when you're in the other place, right? I edit my podcasts, but when I'm hosting them, I'm not thinking about the edit later. I get to the edit and I'm like, ugh, I sneezed again, or why am I breathing into the microphone? It's very easy to be frustrated with yourself because it's hard to wear both hats at the same time.
Totally. Editing is really like putting a puzzle together,
yep.
Except it's the most complicated. I mean, filmmaking is putting a puzzle together.
Sure.
It's super complicated because there's multiple people involved in every piece,
Yeah.
You can't just do it yourself. The problem when you're doing a 3,000 piece puzzle is you're going to mess up some of those pieces when you're drawing them one at a time.
Yeah.
And so that's really what it is. It's trying to minimize the amount of mistakes.
Pretty much if no one has a complaint, you did your job right?
Yeah, so once it's all together, it's sort of the picture that you were trying to make from the beginning. Maybe it's not, but hopefully it's still interesting for other people to look at.
I see that you've done quite a bit of work on a lot of the Disney Plus Marvel series.
Yes.
When working on something like that, when you go watch it later, I assume you've watched some of them later, do you see a scene or a cut and go, that was me, that was awesome? Or is it not that one-to-one? Is it more collaborative and kind of just a mesh of multiple things?
Good question. On the Marvel stuff, I'm an assistant editor by day. So any of the edits and stuff you're seeing in there were not me. I'm a very, very small wheel in a huge machine.
Yeah.
Let's see. So your question is do I see stuff on the screen and get so excited because
that was my cut or that was my decision, working on an edit?
Yeah, I don't know if I think about it that way. It's more just I'm so happy this whole thing is done and out there. And I can share it with people, especially on these projects. It's so secretive, and I'm really keeping things close to the chest for in some cases years. And when it's finally out there, finally I could share it and laugh with everyone and talk about it. And I do watch everything. I was a Marvel fan before I even started working here. So
yeah, I mean,
it's one of those jobs that you just pinch yourself all the time. Man, I can't believe they let me in the front door, and hang on tight because I don't want to go anywhere else.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, working on products that you're proud of is always the best. And if it's something that existed before you came along and will likely exist after you go, those are the exciting ones. I get to edit for the Game Informer podcast, and I've been reading Game Informer since I was a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
I love video games.
It's surreal, right?
Because
you're man, if I had told myself 15 years ago that I was going to be working and being a part of this, that's so nuts.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's hard to even believe.
And especially with Marvel, I have to feel some of the stories that you're getting to tell, getting to work on stuff like Miss Marvel or Loki that are just unique and interesting and diverse, must be exciting to get to be a part of that.
Yeah, it is. Every day it's just fun. And I don't even know what else to say about it besides it's just great all the time.
Sure.
And the fact that they make so much these days, I know maybe that's a complaint for some people, but
Yeah.
it just means that I get to keep being a part of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
it's a different world when it's not a franchise and there's like just one movie at a time.
Yeah.
And it's a crapshoot if this is going to be something that's good or not, or you're going to be proud of or not. And you're right. It's hard to work on stuff that you really don't care about.
Yeah.
In fact, I've taken jobs for less money just because I didn't want to work on something.
Right.
You know, like it's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
I want to be on something I can be proud of and that I know I'm going to enjoy for the 6 to 12 months I'm going to be doing it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes a ton of sense, right? And like, we all want to get paid what we're worth, but we also have to make the decisions that will make not only our heart happy, but our brains happy, you know, because we're not going to work as hard on something that we're not interested in. I want to take it back to the film that you made, because something else that was really key to this film, that there are specific suspenseful moments that I can't imagine without the score. The score is really great. And like, there are some really tense moments, especially towards the back half of the film, where it's like, there's just the pressure is built by that kind of score work. And like, you've gotten to work on Marvel and Star Wars stuff. And so like, you are no stranger to like impactful scoring. And so was that always the plan for this film, was to have something really like suspenseful and really well curated to build up those scenes?
Yes, definitely. And I got to talk about the guy who wrote all this music. His name's Joey Westerland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So before we even shot, I was like trying to think. I was listening to a lot of music, trying to figure out what the tone was going to be. So I had that in mind, you know, while we were shooting it. And one of the things I think that indie movies fail on in a lot of cases is trying to be something they're not, if that makes sense. I watch a lot of these micro budget movies, and very often you hear the music and someone's trying to write music for a full orchestra. But that's not what they have. They have a keyboard, you know, and you could tell, and it takes me out of it. It bothers me. So from the beginning, I thought, okay, she's a hacker. I can lean into the electronic music on this and just make that part of the aesthetic, and not be afraid of electronic music. I don't have a full orchestra, and I'm not going to tell anyone make this sound like a Steven Spielberg movie because we don't have that. So I started researching people, and believe it or not, I found this guy Joey on Reddit.
Okay.
So I was just going through like subreddits of people who want to write film scores, and I was like listening to 5 or 10 different ones, and I found his YouTube page, and he's writing sort of like cinematic metal. I think that's what he calls it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go on YouTube, for your listeners out there, and type in what's he called? Darkfield.
Uh-huh.
That's his band or project title.
Cool.
And he's got so much like, it's just cool, man. It's like heavy rock, but strings and lots of percussion, and he does it all himself. And so I just reached out to him, and I was like, hey, are you interested in doing a feature? Because I don't have a ton of money. I can pay you some, but it's not what you're worth. But what do you say? And he said, okay. And I just started turning over reels to him like pretty quickly. And I had temp music in, you know, I'm thinking of something that's kind of along this tone, and he just nailed it every time. Originally, I had asked him, I think it's going to be like maybe 50 to 60 minutes of music, and it turned out to be more like 70 or 75. And man, it was just a great experience turning stuff over to him, and we'd only do like 1 or 2 rounds of notes, and my wife would walk by while I'm working on it in the room, and she'd say, hold on. Is that our movie? Because that sounds so good, right? It sounds really professional. I can't believe this guy's never done anything before. The other fun thing was I went to him early and said, hey, I want to come up with a theme that's her theme.
Right.
So like a little melody, and I want to hear it like throughout the whole movie in different ways. So when she's angry, it's hard. When she's sad, it's like soft piano. And just work that in as many times as you can. So did you notice that?
Yeah.
Was there something in there that you recognized?
I'm a big fan of leitmotifs, and so like if you create a character, so this is a tangent, but I'll bring it back around. So I'm a fan of
go for it.
Patrick Willems, who does a ton of video essays on YouTube, and I've not only gotten to interview him, but I got to interview his composer, Brian Matolius, who also was the composer for Puffs, the off-Broadway show, and like, he had a leitmotif that he introduced in like their season of YouTube videos that then carried over into a feature film that they did. And like, just every way he reinvented the same tune. And so when movies, which often do, and like even in Solid Rock Trust, when I heard that, I went, oh, that's really cool. Later on, when she was really mad, I was like, oh, wait, that's the same thing from before.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's just, I'm a big music nerd. Like,
Sweet. I'm glad you noticed that.
yeah, I like my favorite film and video games are the ones that incorporate music in a really great way. There's a game that just came out recently called Hi-Fi Rush, published by Bethesda and made by Tango Gameworks, and it's a character action game a la like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, but the combat is all done to the rhythm and to the beat. And so every time you strike an enemy, it can sync up with the music and the
How does it know?
It's your timing, and like they don't really punish you for not being on beat.
Oh, so you're supposed to try to make it work that way.
But
or you're encouraged to.
You're encouraged to, but the music is also designed so like and looped in a way that you can kind of engage pretty easily with it. You can also set a beat meter on the bottom if you want to see it to kind of see when the timing is. But like so any game or TV show or movie that like rewards me for noticing things, and like even your film, like I was like, oh, I recognize that. Like I love that stuff. I've been a big music nerd since I was a kid, and so those kinds of things are always super rewarding to me. And yeah, it definitely works. And like even towards the end of the film, like when the big reveal happens, like you can still hear that stuff in the composition. It's really well done,
and it means something at that point too, right? Because you're like attached to that sound, and you think, man, I've heard it so many different ways, just like you've seen her in so many different ways now. And it's like impactful. So I was telling him, put this in, and at least once or twice I was like, okay, I like this section here, but you got to put her theme in on this because I need it in this spot. And he always just was so great. So shout out to Joey. And if you're looking for someone to score something, hit this guy up because he's hungry to do something. That's
awesome. Talk a little bit about the production side of this, the marketing side of this, and it's available to watch for free with ads on Tubi. It is definitely worth everyone's hour and 30 minutes from start to stop. I'm curious, like how you promote a film like this, right? This is your first film that you've written, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And so I have to, because I know just from marketing multiple podcasts, like it can feel daunting to try and get your work out into the world. Have you found any ways that have been the best for you to like get people to check this thing out, engage with your audience? Like what are some of the like kind of methods that you've found satisfying for doing that?
Oh man. Okay. Well, I think daunting is an understatement because it feels impossible. I know, it's so hard. I mean, you have this thing you spend so much time on, and I feel in my heart that it's really good and it's worth your time. And so far, all the feedback I've gotten has, been in agreement with that.
Right.
But still, even if it's good, it's hard to get out there.
Yeah.
So it's funny. At Marvel, they have their own marketing department, and they have access to all the stuff that you're working on, so they can work their things. But sometimes they're asking for, hey, can we get this? Can we get this? And for the longest time, I was like, marketing department, you guys are cute. We're doing the real work over here. You just keep doing your thing. And I've completely gained a total respect for them after having to do it myself because it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And I used to think, maybe it's 80% good movie and then it'll get out there on its own. And that's really not the case. It's like at best 50-50, if not 40-60. Because you can even market well a bad movie and it can do good.
True. I mean, look at Morbius, right? Like that, the internet ran with that thing, and
the moviest movie of 2022.
Right?
Yes, that's right. So it's been hard. I understand the filmmaking process pretty well, I think, especially at a scale like this.
Right.
And now that I've gone through it, I really see how to carry a movie all the way through to the end. But the marketing was something I never really understood, and I feel like I'm still getting an education on it. So I don't know, man. Things that have seemed to work is I'm doing a lot of these kind of podcast things, which I'm finding are really fun. I've never done this kind of thing before.
Oh, wow, really? You're great at it. So
kind of like find my groove a little bit. So that's fun. And then we do Facebook ads and Instagram ads, and I'm on Reddit. We've tried doing some viral marketing type stuff, which has been moderately successful, I think. Gosh, what else? I mean, we have all the social medias, although I'm not very good about keeping up with that stuff.
Sure.
We're trying our best. And then working hard to try to get like reviews. So if anyone's out there watches this movie, hit me up on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes and leave me a nice review somewhere. That's like gold, which I've only now understanding how important that stuff is. Because when you're scrolling through 50 options on whatever platform of choice you have, and you're trying to look at one that other people have already approved, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, podcasting lives and dies by reviews on Apple Podcasts. Like, people get featured based on that. You know, you find audiences, they become more shareable, more searchable. Spotify also, now that it has like ratings, like we'll recommend.
You hear that, people?
Stuff.
CPOV autographs. Go leave a nice review right now.
Yes, please. Thank you. But seriously, it really makes or breaks. Like but also I hit this thing. And it's always hard to promote your own art, right? Like you want to be humble, you want to be like, oh yeah, it's pretty good, but like
it's really hard.
But I've learned that like the humble side of it is kind of unimportant, only because you have to believe your stuff is great to promote it, and also you have to ignore the little voice in the back of your head that says no one cares, because people do care, and like people do listen, obviously, but like if you don't really push it, no one else is going to push it as hard for you as you push it, right?
Right.
And so, like, listeners and fans and people who enjoy your work will match that energy. And I've really kind of leaned into that in later years, at a point now where, of course, I produce and host too much stuff as it is. So I feel like it's just, I'm always in people's faces. But I've also decided if people don't like that, like say on Twitter or wherever, they could not follow me. They can go elsewhere.
Right.
This is what I do. This is the thing I do. Podcasting has become the thing I do. So I'm going to talk about it a lot. And I feel like, do you feel like as you now move towards the writing and directing side, do you feel that kind of push to do more and want to do more work and talk about your work more?
Yeah, definitely. I think it helps when it's out there and it is getting good responses. You're like, okay, I'm not crazy. Maybe it's not like taking the world by storm, which would have been nice, but at least everyone who sees it is like, whoa, this was not what I expected. And it was really, really good. So thank you for that. It's hard to, I don't even know how to say it. The hardest part for me is like, I guess it's kind of humbling when so many people give their time, and I'm not asking for money in a lot of these cases, because you could watch it for free, but it's like, man, somebody's actually sat down and watched it and liked it and then gave me some feedback on it, positive feedback on it. That's the part that's like, oh wow, thanks. I don't know what else to do for you.
Yeah.
I want it.
Oh, every time someone compliments me,
you?
It's like the other day I was working on one of my side series, and like it's a series that I work on for my video game podcast, and like it involves asking individuals to like talk about a game they love and why they love it. And I'd reached out to a creator and a writer who I respected and really liked to do one, and he did it. And then afterwards was like, by the way, this series is incredible, and you should know that like putting positivity into the gaming space is really a huge value, and you should be proud of the work you did. And I was just like I sent a heart emoji, because I don't know what else to say, because like, yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't realize, especially when interacting with creators, is like simple, kind words go a long way. You don't have to be verbose. You don't have to have a long review or like a really intricate review. Just saying nice, kind things about the things people make really does go a long way for the people who make them.
Yeah. Okay, two things. Firstly, you're right. And I've kind of made an effort in the last 2 years or so to seek out those people who might not get a compliment so often. And especially if it's like a director of a movie that I've seen. In one case, I watched this movie on Netflix. I was like, oh, that was good. What else has he done? Oh, he's done something else that I really like. Cool. And then I looked at his credits and I'm like, hold on, we both worked on Loki together. I bet I have his Marvel email address in my email. Hold on, let's see. Typed it up. Sure enough, there it is. And I sent him a little message and I said, hey, I just watched this on Netflix. Is this you? Because I liked the last one, and sorry, this is just fan mail, I guess. Just keep up the good work. If I known you were like in the office, I would have come and said hi. And I bet he'd never heard that before.
Sure.
Because who like looks up the he wasn't the director or anything.
Right.
And yeah, it's nice to hear that kind of stuff. Second thing is, I think you forget as a creator what it's like to be a listener or an audience member, because I have to remind myself, oh yeah, I like to do this kind of stuff when I find something cool.
Yeah.
You know, I like to tell my friends about it. Like, dude, did you see this? It was like really good. You should check it out. And having other people do that for you is, I think, the humbling thing.
Yeah.
But you just have to remember that that's what we want to do as an audience. You know?
Yeah.
We want to share that.
And I've started
we want to get behind somebody, you know, who's doing a good job and support that.
Totally. I mean, and I think I've started to lean into that. Like in our sign off for Fun and Games, the video game podcast I do, we say tell your friends. Like just tell one friend. It doesn't even have to be a lot of people. Just tell one friend who hopefully will tell one friend who will hopefully tell one friend. Right? Like that's
it just
how
doesn't
things
happen
grow.
that way.
Right.
We wish it did, but
yeah. And like I think it's important to acknowledge that like look, I love podcasting, but if I didn't have an audience, I'd be talking to myself essentially. And like I'm no one without the audience listening to this stuff. That's the whole reason I do it. Is I do it because I like these conversations, but I do it also because I want people to listen to these conversations. And I think, you know, it's very easy to lose track of like what direction you're headed in if you don't think about that stuff. And I think that just makes your work better, acknowledging that it's a system, right? It's an ecosystem, as it were.
Yeah. Good chat. I haven't had that talk with anybody yet. Whoa.
It's like
I'm
I've
gonna
been
lay
doing
down
this
on
for a
my
little
couch
while.
over here. Talk to me more.
I'm curious, you know, as a fan of film and as a writer, you know, going to see films, what is the kind of stuff that you see and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real, or I can't believe I saw this, or someone made this. Like for me, Everything Everywhere All at Once last year was like one of those films that's
totally.
just like, I can't believe this exists. And
I know.
And like, thankfully, like it's getting the recognition it absolutely deserves. But like, have there been any films that you've seen recently that you're like, this is unbelievable, more people need to know about this thing that I saw?
Oh man. Recently?
Or not even recently, just something that you've seen that really resonated with you.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. There's just so many. How do I answer? One experience I'll never forget was watching Whiplash. You seen that one?
Yeah.
I watched that movie on an airplane, you know, on the little screen in front of me. And that movie is kinetic, man.
Yeah.
It's so much energy. And I remember sitting there like looking around. Does anyone else know about this? It's so good. Has anyone else seen this? You guys, whatever you're doing right now, stop and watch it. Because you're on the plane with me. You can watch it too. That's the kind of stuff that gets me super excited. And I really yearn for that feeling. And I think I kind of had that with that one, Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
For days afterwards, I was thinking about that one. And I really did talk to people about that afterwards. Man, I just saw this. Have you heard of this movie? It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It was really good. I can't stop thinking about it.
I mean, kinetic is the word, right? Like I mentioned Hi-Fi Rush earlier, like it has both original music just for the game, and then it also has like actual songs from other artists. Like there are a couple Nine Inch Nails songs in there. There's a Prodigy song in there, and like there's this kinetic moment where a song called "Invaders Must Die" by Prodigy kicks in, and it's this like high energy techno track, and like a song that I'm familiar with. And so when I got to that moment in the game and heard that song start to play, like it felt like being at a concert while playing a video game almost, you know?
Yeah.
And I think those kinds of kinetic moments are the things that resonate with me the most.
That's the kind of stuff that keeps you coming back.
Yeah. I mean, like in your film, for sure, like the bounce, I think, was what's great about the first half, right? Like watching Maddie bounce from character to character and phone to phone. Also, I think the thing that really sends the kinesis through that film is, especially in the first half, is the timer. Like every time she hits it, like it's almost like a rhythm, right? Like you're coming back to it.
Yeah.
And like
it became a dance for her too.
Yeah.
Like, hit the timer, pick up the phone, pick up the next phone, do it again.
Yeah. And like I think that kind of visceral stuff is what makes art like this really resonate.
Yeah, thanks for noticing that. I do like the stuff that has a lot of energy infused, and energy doesn't necessarily mean car crashes.
Right.
And explosions, you know. Sort of in the same in music, you know, when you're in band in high school, like even quiet music can have energy.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for. And that's what I was trying to put in a lot of this. And the clock thing was funny because I was like, that was kind of an exercise for me. Okay, no scene is going to be more than 2 pages in this script.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out why later. That's fine. But she's going to keep hitting this clock because we know that she always has to hang up the phone and she always has to start a new one quickly. And so that's one of the things, make sure this is never boring. It's always moving. I think you're right to try to keep that. You just want it to move fast. You want it to feel like there's so much going on. You can't keep up, and yet you are keeping up.
Well, I think also with your film specifically, like you never want someone to say, "Oh, that felt long," but like, I mean, it is a compliment that the first 15 minutes felt like a feature, because in that first 15 minutes, there's so many short scenes. And like, I remember watching it and looking at the clock and not going, "Oh no, it's been so long," but more like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe it's only been 15 minutes," because you learn in pieces so much in the beginning. And I think that's really amazing. I can't think of another film where I've had a feeling of like, this feels long in a good way,
Oh yeah. Even it's not really that long, and it's also in real time.
Yeah.
Because what's 90 minutes out of your life? We're going to talk here for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And yet you feel like you've come so far with her because you've gone through so much. You're a good person to talk to about this, because I wanted the plot to unfold sort of the way a video game would.
Uh-huh.
When you pick something up for the first time, they kind of give you nowadays when a game starts, the walkthrough is like playable.
Yeah.
Like they'll teach you how to play. And then it gets more complicated. Then it gets more complicated. Then it gets more complicated.
Yeah.
And that's how I wrote the script, to be like, okay, this is very simple. You have a person sitting here. She's talking to this person. She's talking to this person. You got this very small cast. And then we're going to start making it more and more complex as we go. And if you had picked up 2/3 of the way through, you'd just be like totally confused. What is going on?
Yeah. It really does build on itself.
But
really
because you were there every step of the way, it kind of makes sense, at all times of how we got here.
Yeah.
And oh man, I'm glad you noticed that kind of
I'm too big of a nerd for my own good, but before we start to wrap up, and I have you plug the hell out of this film so people can go watch it. I've been asking, and this question has come and gone, and we're still for all intents and purposes still in a pandemic because COVID hasn't gone anywhere yet. But I've been asking since COVID started, my guests, like, if there was like a silver lining or one really truly great, like, obviously there's nothing good about COVID, and it's been hard for everyone in a whole host of ways. And, we just want it to be over. Please wear a mask. Please get vaccinated if you're not. And why aren't you vaccinated yet? But like, was there this like standout silver lining from your time at home more, or your time like during lockdown, like something that came out of that difficult experience that really stands out to you?
Okay, now we're getting real personal, Matt.
Okay.
Sit down, buckle up, put on the seatbelt.
I pantomimed putting on a toseatbelt.
Here we go. I told you I'd answer whatever question you want. Let's go. Okay, so I've always been a really strong introvert, social anxiety. I got a hard time talking on the phone. I got a hard time going places in person. Maybe that's why I work in post-production, because I can sit in a room
by yourself in the dark.
And the people I work with are pretend, because they're sitting on a screen in front of me. But the fact that so much of it has turned into Zoom calls like this. Like I work from home, so I have to be real comfortable, doing meetings this way. And I'm what you said. Nobody wanted COVID to happen and stuff, but what's the silver lining is I feel like I'm connecting with people more than I ever have before, just because so many people were forced to do it this way, and it kind of works for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
If this had happened, if I had released this movie years ago, I don't know that I would have been able to do interviews and, like figure out how to just chat with people online and everything the way that I have, because I've kind of been prepared for it in a strange way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Totally. I mean, I think like it's funny. My spouse and I are very similar in a lot of ways, but also like, they are an extrovert that sometimes feels introverted, and I'm the complete opposite. I can be an extrovert. I used to host burlesque shows and do live DJ events. Like, I can be a show person. Yeah.
But it takes a lot of energy from you.
Right. And then the minute I'm done, I am done. Like, there is no...
And when we hang up this call, I'm going to go lay down in my bed and freaking sit on my iPad.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell my wife, don't talk to me. I've been talking for an hour.
And like, so so I totally relate to that. Like being home all the time and like talking to people more on Discord or on Zoom was more my speed, because I did that a ton growing up because it was my preference for playing games and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And yeah. See, there was a time that I couldn't even play video games online.
Yeah.
It made me too nervous. I could feel my heart beating out of my chest. Interacting in a way that I don't understand.
I mean, I think that what the pandemic has done for a lot of folks is make people on either side meet the other in the middle, right?
Yes.
We've all had to kind of get outside our comfort zone in different ways.
Yeah, great point.
And so I totally relate, and I am with you as a fellow introvert. I totally get it.
But you're right, too, because it did kind of force me to open up in some way. And not necessarily the way that I was always afraid of doing before, because I'm not necessarily going to hang out with groups, at the bar multiple nights a week. That's the stuff that still would scare me. But this one, I've figured out a little bit. At least I'm not, having panic attacks all the time.
I mean, that's all we really all of us want is to not.
But it's great. I also just love getting to meet people like you for an hour or two at a time, and maybe I just do better one-on-one, anyways, or real small group.
Yeah, I get that.
But it's fun, man. I like it. Well, I don't want this show to end. Let's keep talking. I was just going through my letterbox. I don't know if you saw. I was ignoring you on my phone.
No,
because I was trying to figure out all the other things that I've seen in the last year. That. What else you got though?
But no, I mean, thank you for that honest answer. I really appreciate it. And I think that ultimately the reason I liked your episode of Let's Rewatch and the reason I wanted to connect with you and the reason I enjoyed this film is I just feel...
Because you like Rudolph as much as me.
Obviously.
Everyone go listen to the Rudolph the Reindeer episode of Let's Rewatch next door.
And also because I wanted to meet someone who is somewhat related to Burl Ives. I mean, that's the real reason is that I want that connection. But no, I think that I get a sense of the kind of person you are from that show and then from our chat here. And I totally see that in your film. I see this kind of introversion. I see this anxiety. I see this fear of the world around you a little bit in Maddie and in other characters that Maddie interacts with. Oh, man,
you're so perceptive. Thank you. Because people are like, if you don't know how to write it, you stick to what you know. Write what you know. Well, right. I've never robbed a bank before, and I've never led a team, into crime. But in a way, this is about me because it's a person in a room who's doesn't trust other people and who won't let anyone make decisions for them. They have to be in total control, and the danger that causes. Because that was ultimately kind of her downfall. That's her fatal flaw is that she doesn't trust other people. Yeah, and she needs to be in total. Calling all the shots. Yeah, and you can't live your life that way.
No. Yeah, and I think that the ending, which we won't go into because, again, I want people to see the film, I think it's really, there are so many ways to interpret the last 15 minutes, right? And I really love that about the film. I think that a lot of films want to tell you what the moral is. They want to kind of beat you over the head with the message. Yeah. And we were talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once before, and this, movies that kind of just leave you with something, a feeling, and then you have to parse what does that really mean.
Yeah, not necessarily questions or confusion.
Right.
Wait, what happened? Because there's no question about what happened.
Right. It's more there's no right answer or right solution. This is the solution. How do you feel about it? What do you think? Who do you relate to? And I like that. I like those open moments. So I think that's a really strong way to frame a film, and I think that Solid Rock Trust just does a really great job with that.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but part of it was she's a Robin Hood character. She's doing this bad thing, but she's doing it kind of for the right reasons. Right. And so everyone kind of gets behind her pretty quick. Not characters, but people in the audience. I think they're getting behind her and say, "Oh, she's doing this for the right reasons. She's such a good person." I'm not so sure. Even still,
it's not so black and white. There are questions to be asked.
She thinks she's a good person, but yeah, exactly what you're saying. Yeah, maybe that's open for debate still. So, if we ever do Solid Rock Trust 2, we're gonna go into more of that. I think there's more to explore.
Well, Rick, thank you for joining me. This was wonderful. Before we close out the show and I have you do our sign off, I would love for you to tell folks the best way to support Solid Rock Trust, where they can check it out, where they can find you online if you wish to be found, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to include, I'm going to send you our link tree so you can post that.
I will happily.
People can find, we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, all that good stuff. And then you'll also be able to see where you can watch it. So you can watch it for free on Tubi right now if you just go to tubi.tv and type Solid Rock Trust. or you can rent it on Amazon, or you can rent it on Google Play or YouTube Movies. And if you're listening to this in June of 2023 or later, it will be available worldwide on YouTube.
Amazing.
And you can watch it right there too. And it will roll out to more places like Roku channel and stuff. Our distributor kind of does it in stages. So it's out there, man.
Amazing. Awesome.
Go watch it because I think you're going to like it. It's a bank heist like you've never seen before.
Well, thank you again, Rick. This was wonderful as my dog jumps into my lap. Yes, Otis. Yes. I know. You want to play? Not right now. We'll play in a little bit. Sit.
And while Matt's gone taking care of the dog, I'm just going to read us out.
Yeah.
You can find all the COPPOV podcasts on cpov.com, and got a whole mess of them on there. All different genres, video games, movies, books, whatever it is you like, you find something. I've listened to a lot of them. I've listened to Screen Snark. I've listened to... I haven't listened to this one before, but Let's Play's great. There's just so many good podcasts on there for you. Matt, where can they find you?
Thank you, Rick. That was really sweet. So before we close out the show, we have a saying on the podcast, which is music is life and life is good. It's this idea that as long as you're creating, as long as you're making stuff, even things would get really hard or things get difficult or trying, you can find joy in making the thing. And so if you could say music is life and life is good, we will actually close out the show.
Oh, great. You're not going to add anything else? That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Well, hey, everyone. Music is life and life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.matt.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun, whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.